Where is it here? The
CBS
name of
News.
it
I got it.
is. You got the name
House
of it?
passes
There it is.
NDAA $900 billion defense policy bill in 312 to 112 vote. It's passed like every year before they, from my understanding, before they go home for Christmas time and all that. It's the National Defense Authorization Act for fiscal year 2026. And it's a 3,086 page bill, which, by the way, we've had this conversation before, should not exist. I don't know if you still believe that, Dalton, but there is just no way.
What should exist?
There's no way that something should be passed at 3,086 pages at a time.
No.
We need to pass legislation that says that bills can be capped at like 100 pages or something, which, by the way, is still a lot of pages.
I think it just needs to be single subject. We need single subject spending bills because we don't need to have all this stuff lumped in here. Do you have anything you want to say before this? Because I got a whole breakdown from top to bottom of each category of major category with.
Let me go through and you correct me
amounts.
if you have anything different. So the general overestimations and arching themes of the bill here are $291 billion for maintenance and operation.
Yep.
$162 billion for procurement.
Mm-hmm.
$146 billion for research and development. $34 billion for defense programs. $20 billion for military construction.
Nuclear defense programs. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, that's what I said. Nuclear defense.
I thought you just said defense. So. My bad. Go ahead.
$34 billion for nuclear defense programs. $20 billion for military construction and family housing, which $131 million of that goes to military dining facilities. Which I want to come back on some of these after I finish this list and like talk about how asinine the amount of money that is for something so like semantic, like tiny, like $400 million to Ukraine times two according to Dalton.
Yes.
$2.7 billion for the expansion of military projects in the Indo-Pacific region. $1.5 billion for security assistance to the Philippines. $175 million for security strength in the Baltic region. A whopping, out of all of this, which is our biggest problem right now, to be quite frank with you, $1 billion to fight drug trafficking. $335 million to build new and refurbish military hospitals. $26 billion in ship construction. $38 billion in Air Force aircraft programs, and it builds the Golden Dome to update the national defense policy. And then there's a couple of more like political things in here that we can get into, but $491 million for construction for new child care centers, $200 million for new schools for the kids, which I'm not really against in principle, but to put it in perspective, the Burj Khalifa in Dubai, which is the world's tallest, like, and most beautiful building, only cost $1.5 billion to make. So keep that in mind while going over all of these numbers, that $900 billion is what we're talking about. You could have built 600 Burj Khalifas.
You know, that was designed by a Chicago engineering company.
Yeah, 3.8% pay increase across the board with 4.2% increase in housing allowance. And then a couple of those political things, which we'll come back to. Any thoughts on those initially?
Lots of thoughts. Yeah, so I mean, when I first said there was some good, some bad, some of it is like I can understand it and some of it's like ridiculous in my eyes. The first thing is like I have the major blocks of where the money is going. The first major block is troop pay and quality of life stuff. And I'm not even against that. It's like a 4%, a 3.8% pay raise for uniformed members and increased allowances. I'm assuming that's what the food and the housing and the improvements are. But I'm not even against that portion of the bill. Like, yeah, should our troops be getting more money and having a better way of life? Yes, yeah, that's okay. I'm not against that. Weapons.
In fact, 3.8 is pretty low considering inflation was pretty high. To be honest with you, I'm not one of those libertarians I don't think Dalton is either. That's one of those libertarians that's anti-military and anti, all of this stuff. We're trying to go through this with like an open mind and say that $900 billion over 3,086 pages is a little freaking steep.
It means there's a reason why it's so big and why there's so much money being tossed around, because someone's making money somewhere in here that's not legal. Um,
Booz Allen, Raytheon,
yeah, right.
Lockheed.
So weapons procurement and industrial base. So this is the one that it makes me skeptical because it's should we have the best weapons procurement? Should we have all the best weapons? Should we have all the Yes, we should, but it seems like there's a lot of money going to this stuff and it's not really maybe there's somewhere in a budget where they'll show you, hey, this is every single ounce of everything that it was on, but it's like it's always a little skeptical to me. It always seems like there's a lot of gray area here. And this is usually where these companies can finagle, when they're building weapons for the government and when they're doing all these things, they can persuade the government to have 100 more units than they actually need, or all these different things. When we had Dick Cheney as vice president, it was no wonder that his company that he left, Raytheon, I believe it was Raytheon, right? Or it was Halliburton. So when he left, he left Halliburton and then became vice president the next year, and then all of a sudden Halliburton's getting $600 million no bid contracts, and they're just getting all this money to go build all this stuff overseas, and they didn't even have to bid for it. So this is where this kind of stuff makes me skeptical. It's like we need a little more transparency on stuff like this, I think. What do you think about that?
You can, excuse me. You can actually look up the government contracting. It's like on the Federal Contractor Registry, so you can see all of the contracts that go to things, like BAE Systems getting a contract, or Lockheed, and then you can get all the details on all of these defense contracts. So they exist. It's on any search engine. Just go ahead and type in federal defense contracts, and you can see the details, when they landed, how much it was, what it was for, all that good jazz.
But that's not even my main point, though. My point is in that, maybe we can see this is how much went to this person or this company for this thing, but it's like the logistics in the middle, how the units that they're ordering, the amount that they're getting, the things that they're buying. It's like there's a lot. It's like there's a lot of gray area in there where they can finagle things to, or is it even necessary in the first place? I guess that's my main thing. Is this stuff even necessary?
Some of it for sure. I'm not naive to think that some of it's not necessary, but I think, and this may be a dense point. People might think, oh, you're stupid for this. I don't think so. I think it's a very basic point, and I think it's the correct point. Is that instead of putting up that money in front for procurement, we should just have a fund, because what they do is they give these guys not particularly no bid contracts, but they give them guaranteed contracts. So Lockheed Martin at one point was having, $60 billion of guaranteed business from the government every single year. And Halliburton, Raytheon, they were having $20 billion, and BAE Systems just have $6 billion. So all of these companies have, and you can look this up too, guaranteed government defense contracts. Let me look it up quick. So the issue is that they guarantee them up front, and then of course the business needs to be made. So that actually creates a pretense for just creating another war, say in Venezuela, aiding Israel, or say aiding Ukraine, or insert thing here, or bombing Venezuelan, drug traffickers, whatever it may be. But there is guaranteed awards. So they do, let's see. And this Golden Dome is by the way, not cheap. It awards 1,000.
That may be the only thing that I agree that we should have. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm not even against it, but it allows 1,014 companies slots on a $151 billion Golden Dome contract. So all of these countries now, or all of these companies, are getting the guaranteed, bid contracts for not even that Golden Dome, by the way. I just brought that up. But all of these contracts are guaranteed. It's like Raytheon gets a guaranteed $25 billion of contracts every year. And if there's not $25 billion worth of war, then we've got to create something, and that's kind of what's led us to where we're at. So setting aside that money for quote unquote procurement, or quote unquote research and development, or, whatever, I don't love that. I think it needs to be a little bit more specific.
Yeah.
And I think that the correct answer to solving an issue like this moving forward is obviously having single issue bills. We want to build more ships. Okay, let's get into Congress and pass that bill, because their argument would be that it would take too long to do all that. But they spend like weeks fighting over this 3,000 page bill. But if you just broke that 3,000 page bill up into 3,000 different items of one page, they'd be 10-second votes. People could read them and just be like it, don't like it, yay, nay. And they would be so much quicker instead of like arguing, we need to take out this provision to put in this provision. Let me wrap up my point here and then you can take the floor. Part of the reason that something like this takes so long is because now they've added in that it's going to cover fertility services, including in vitro fertilization for those whose infertility was caused by, quote, a serious or severe illness or injury while on active duty, which, by the way, I'm not super against, and I don't want to get into the in vitro fertilization ordeal. But it was initially going to cover anyone covered under TRICARE. Like that's
even
like,
transgender women.
So they noted that families, military families have higher rates of infertility, which, as a quick aside here, nobody's going to put two and two together that they walk through a line and get a jab,
and they go over and inhale all the burn pits.
Yeah. And then there's another provision to basically include more women in military positions, and that was added in there. So service academies are now prohibited from considering, which this is kind of a good thing, race, sex, color, ethnicity, national origin, or religion in admission decisions. But I kind of disagree with that because I think you should consider sex, national origin, maybe not religion, but maybe, I don't know. You should be considering these things because, and sorry, women, I don't think women should be in the military per se. Maybe certain roles, but specifically, definitely not combat. And I don't even know why we're having this debate. War, has been set up for us to protect women and children. I don't know why they want to be involved with it. And then the final version did not include many anti-LGBTQ provisions that were added in the early versions, like a ban on Defense Department funding for gender-affirming surgeries, which had passed in previous versions of both the House and Senate bills. It also dropped a provision that would have required all people to use single-sex facilities, including restrooms, locker rooms, and changing rooms at military installations based on their, quote, reproductive system. TRICARE currently covers hormone therapy and psychological counseling for gender dysphoria. It does not cover surgery. The initial also noted that there was going to be a provision to have only male and female sex on forms and such, and that was dropped. And this, by the way, Republicans, as another side, is why you're going to lose in the next election. Not because of Candace Owens, not because of Nick Fuentes, not because of Dalton and I, not agreeing with Trump on everything he does. It's because you have no balls in your pants. And you let them get you on dropping the male and female sex. Like now it's got to say male, female, trans, and prefer not to say all that good shit. You have no balls. You can't even win on something like that. You can't even win on like women using a woman's restroom in the military. You're losers. That's why you're going to lose. It's because you're losers. Okay.
So that's that. And the next big chunk is research and development, which we kind of touched on, but I actually do think AI research and development in the military is a very important thing. But that's another thing. Like we need some specifics. We need some transparency with this stuff. It's like this is the equivalent of the government saying, we're not doing gain-of-function research, and then they are doing gain-of-function research, right? It's like you're playing with a weapon that if you allow it to get out of hand could be, very harmful. So it's like we need transparency. Obviously, we don't want to have other governments and other militaries to know our secrets with our research and development, like how far along we are with our AI programs. But at the very least, we need a justification and an explanation why we should be spending this kind of money on what it is that, like, what is the outcome of what you're trying to make? Like, what is it that you're trying to make? Why does it benefit America? Why is it a good thing that we should be spending this money on this thing? Like, it's just, there's a lot of cloudiness going on here, that I don't like.
I mean, just to jump in here before I forget, in 2026, I better see no additional defense bills passed, because if you can't apportion off and properly spend $900 billion, you deserve to get kicked in the teeth. I better not see one. I will, by the way. We all will. We're going to see it.
We're going to see it. No, we're going to see it. It'll be bigger than ever.
They passed $900 billion up front. $900 billion.
Sorry, $901 billion.
And then once every 2 weeks, they're like, all right, let's do another 20 billion, another 400 million, another 40 million, another 18 billion. And they just do our defense spending is out of control.
And
the Pentagon's never
there's no end
passed an audit in our lives, and they just keep spending the same. Like the people that are voting on this, people that are signing off on this, how do they know how much money we need? Well, they base it on how much we needed last year and the year before that. So instead of auditing ourselves and realizing, hey, we could save money here, and here, we just keep doing the same thing over and over and over. And it's okay because it comes directly out of your paycheck and they don't have to worry about it.
And they print it. And so the last big chunk that I really want to talk about is the foreign security assistance. We kind of touched on it. We're going to end it here when we'll talk about it. Right here, it shows that I'm assuming the original, the way it was worded it was just an $800 million to Ukraine, but right here in this on ChatGPT, it shows it crossed out 800 million, and then under it says 400 million per year. So I'm assuming it was originally an $800 million allocation to Ukraine, and then they revised it to a 400 per year, which is, first of all, Trump said we were going to be out of this in 24 hours, and now here we are yet again spending more money on Ukraine's military, and it is military spending. Like this is all military. This is nothing else to do with anything other than military. So this is going to the Ukraine for their military, for ballistic missiles, for all of these things. Go ahead.
There could be more for like humanitarian aid, which would come out of another department, I'm assuming, correct?
I think all the pocketbook has to be spent. It all has to be approved through Congress regardless.
Well, I'm just saying now, like this 400 million for Ukraine is for military purposes, yes. But like out of the defense budget, they could step into another department and say, "Oh, here's another 200 million." For
they can't send any other money. It all has to be passed through Congress. So this, they would have to present another bill and then pass it again in order for them to spend more money. But this specifically is only for military spending. So it's like so. But this is what pisses me off is we say, Trump says we're going to be out of this conflict in 24 hours, but yet here we are yet again spending money on Ukraine's military for them to just keep getting murdered by Russia because they have no chance unless we literally step in with our military and to stop Russia. Ukraine has no chance. And they just keep funneling money into this like furnace that is just engulfing everything that gets thrown into it. It's just it pisses me off more than almost anything on this. It's like I would even say if they wiped out all of the foreign spending, which the size of the bill isn't really that much. It's like maybe 2 billion of the 900 billion is actually going to foreign causes, to foreign military investment. But if they just wiped out that 2 billion and said we're spending 899 or 898 billion, but it's all on our military and advancing our military and paying our people more, I wouldn't even be that mad about it. But it's this 800 million, this 500 million going to Israel's military for missiles and weapons and all this stuff. That alone, that all pisses me off. It's like we should not be spending a single dollar in any country until we no longer have over 100,000 fentanyl overdoses in our country a year, until we don't, until inflation is 2% or less every year, until we get back to the fucking gold standard, until we actually have some sound money and people can make a living without having to have 50,000 jobs or have just a super high education in a high earning wage. It used to be you could literally go work on the assembly line and have, more than enough money to have everything you need and more with one income. And now we've just completely degraded our economy to the point, and I'm getting off the beaten path, but we've degraded our economy to the point where even 2 people in the household is almost unaffordable in today's, if you don't have super high earning wages, necessarily. But My overall point is it just pisses me off that we're spending a single dollar in a foreign country when we have all of these problems here in this country that we should be dealing with, and this is what they're spending money on. It just pisses me off.
I mean, for $1 trillion, we better, I just don't understand. $1 trillion, I am mad regardless of how much is going to these foreign nations. Like, it's a lot, it's hard for me to have that, like $1 trillion. We couldn't do it a little bit cheaper than that. Yeah. Like I said at the top of the show, the Burj Khalifa, which is the biggest building in the world, the tallest building in the world, it cost $1.5 billion. You could put 600 of those out. You could put 30 of those in every single state. And that's what the military budget is. You could do that every year with the military budget. Yeah. We could literally build Burj Khalifas around our border over the next 10 years and literally fill in our border with Burj Khalifas with the military budget.
It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting.
I'm just saying that it's that much money.
At least one with the foreign money.
There's no way that any of the 312 people that voted yes on this in the House or the 77 that voted yes on it in the Senate are like, even they. It's not even like they give a shit how much money that is. Like I'm not saying that I have the energy to go through, and it's not my job, by the way. It is my job to sit here and criticize these people and say, and maybe I should. I shouldn't sit here and just not have solutions. But if I were to go through this bill and understand all of the spending, I bet you that I would probably find at least half of it is probably unnecessary, fraudulent, or wasteful. Yes. Probably. Or abuse. FWA. Fraud, waste, abuse, I would bet, in my estimation, probably about half of it. We could probably do the same thing for $450 billion and get the same outcome. By the way, then we wouldn't have to have any debate over whether EBT and food stamps is going to end, or WIC, so that women and children can eat food, or we wouldn't have any healthcare debate over this country because we'd have $450 billion extra in that budget. Or we could stop printing so much and start paying off the debt, which, by the way, most of that debt, people seem to think the debt is fake and there's no debt at all. Most of the debt that the government holds is actually in bonds to its own citizens. So if the government defaults on that, it just screws over its own citizens that hold those bonds.
Well, actually, that is to the most part, but there is a humongous amount to foreign countries too that are paid in bonds.
Japan holds like $1 trillion.
Japan holds $1 trillion of bonds, I believe.
China's like bonds.
It's like 800 billion, something like that. Yeah. There's
a lot of these countries hold lots of bonds.
There's right around $10 trillion, somewhere around there, of foreign bond holders. So
that means that 30 trillion of it's still held by American citizenry or company or something like that. So if these bond markets collapse due to a default on the debt because we spend too much money on our military and just print and just let the money printer go all the time, then American citizens are out $30 trillion, and they're still going to tax you on top of it to make up for the default.
But hang on. How crazy is it that we even allow foreign countries to buy American bonds? That means they're literally buying a stake in our currency. Like they're buying a portion of the worth of our country. Like,
well, you know what's crazy is that the way that this works too is a lot of American investors do the opposite. Japan had interest rates that were so low that they were buying Japanese currency, Japanese yen, and then actually coming back and converting it and then buying our stock and cryptocurrency with it. And then people were like, I don't know why the Bitcoin's collapsing, or people think it's the end of Bitcoin or whatever. Not to get into this too deep here, but Bitcoin has fallen over the last few months from like 125,000 to now it's at like 85,000. And that was a direct result, pretty much, and the stock market took a little tumble around here too, that Japan said, we're done holding our interest rates at basically zero. We're going to start to raise them. People stuck holding the Japanese yen, realized that it's getting devalued, had to get out of it really quick. And the way that they had to get out of it really quick was to sell off their stock and their crypto, which caused it to go down. And now that is a whole issue. So this is an international issue from people holding our bonds and us holding their bonds. It's not something that really should be done a whole ton in practice, but it is.
About holding the balls. All right, ready to move on to the next one, sir. Like, share, subscribe, comment, do all the things. Let's move on to cut number 2. Comment down below if you're very excited about the money that we just spent on the militaries in Israel and Ukraine.
My wife just texted me and said I look pale.
So do I, though.
I just want to note that I'm just not good at lighting. I do get sun. If you've watched my vitamin D show, I'm tan.
Too much
I'm
light.
a Floridian. I got Floridian skin.